all get down. Let's all get down. All get down. All get down. All get down. Let's all get down. All get down. All get down. All get down. Let's all get down.
So I've not got all my records with me, but I bought this one, and this is one of the first garage records I bought. And it was when garage changed from just being kind of 4/4 into US garage into UK garage. Okay, so this was a group called Smokin and the record's called Dreams, and the remix is by New Horizon. And New Horizon for me are some of the most important remixers and producers of early UK garage. So they were working on a quite famous record label called 500 Records, and so this record is really cool, but I rarely get to play it in a club. So I've got it with me today. I'm going to play it for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. So last summer I decided that I wanted to put on a UK garage event in Moscow, and the reason I wanted to do this is because I play UK garage and really there's nowhere to play in Moscow. Like a lot of Russian clubs and bars, they don't understand two-step and they don't understand garage at all. So if you want to play it, you've really got to build your own environment to do this. So I spoke to Flacon, where my studio is based, and we agreed to do a test. The test would be in between some buildings, so the format was an outdoor street party with no lighting, no special effects, just decks and a big sound system. And on the first night we had nearly 1,000 people. So we did this every Friday for the summer, and it was cool. You know, we were able to invite everybody that I knew that played garage music in Moscow to be part of that. That was people from the United Gang, people like Masha Sky and Artem Finn, which are Tiger Bombs, and a few other new guys, which were really interesting. At the end of summer, there was a lot of talk about moving this party inside, but actually we decided just to have a pause. There were a number of changes, I had a lot of work, and now I'm about to redo these parties, but they will not be at Flacon. They need to be in a club in the centre, and they need to be for the right audience. So it will be for a smaller crowd, maybe 300, 400 people max, and hopefully it will be every 2 weeks to start with, and maybe every Sunday. Every Sunday will be a slightly different thing. I started a concept called Q Moscow. Q Moscow is not just about garage music. The problem with garage music, UK garage in Russia, is no one knows what it is. Okay, we know what it is, but nobody really knows what it is. So the first point of this is education. So how are you going to get your audience? You've got to educate them. So what's interesting to people? Well, if they don't know what UK garage is, then you need to find other things that are going to bring them to the event. So I started to talk to designers. I started to talk to visual artists, not VJs, people who do visual artistic performances, okay? People who have their own fan base, maybe small, maybe 500 people, maybe 1,000 people. But the important thing is you start to bring together a lot of different underground elements that are to do with art culture, music culture, and you provide the musical background that is garage. And if you're clever about it and don't play too much two-step, you can slowly introduce a different audience to a new music. So the plan with Q Moscow, which will happen, I hope, in about 6 weeks' time, 2 months, I hope the end of March, beginning of April this year. The plan is to build something from the ground up and hopefully get to the point quite quickly to bring UK garage DJs and artists from the UK to perform alongside Russian artists and DJs. And I think importantly, this time, this party is not going to be about me playing, you know, like it's important to me to play, but actually it's more important that we build a scene and build an audience that really understand and really like the music. So I think it's time to get a lot of different people involved and for me to take a backseat role in this and just work hard to build something interesting. I started making music on computer for the first time when I was 20 years old, and it was the year 2000. And before that, I just wrote music on guitar. I DJ'd, but I didn't understand how I could ever make electronic music. And the point of this to me was to actually record my own songs. Now, why did I want to be a producer? I didn't want to be a producer. I just wanted to record my own songs so they sounded good. And it took me a very long time before I started to actually make music that sounded good. So this was 2000. So if we do the maths, it's about 20 years. But I didn't start producing professionally until about 2004. And professionally is when you start to earn money for this. So at this point, I was recording demos for bands, helping people find a sound. But at the same time, I was releasing dance music on my own label and for other labels. I did some remixes for Richard Earnshaw, for Ministry of Sound and MJ Cole and Real Basic Records and a few other labels at the time. So this was kind of exciting period of time for me. And from this, I just started to work in more and more commercial music, just doing different styles. You know, like one day in the studio there'd be pop music, the next day it's rock, and you know, it's really, really diverse. So the main point of doing it was to get my own work sounding great, and the length of time I've been producing is about 15 or 16 years professionally. I like lots of different types of music, and I do because to me I find new music exciting of all different styles. So actually, if we're talking about electronic music, I obviously listen to a lot of garage and a lot of house-orientated music. But actually, I'm really excited about the new MJ Cole project. I've known MJ for a long time. He's an incredibly talented guy. We've not been in touch for a while actually, because I've obviously been here in Russia. But we used to be in the studio next to each other, and he's a good guy. He's really, really talented. I've always practically bought everything he's done, And his new project's really interesting because he's really going back to his real roots as a classical pianist, and it's not about garage. It's not about the things that you would expect from him, and that to me is really, really exciting. I've only heard the same clips that we've all heard online. Now, there's a really interesting shift, especially in UK dance music. Like everyone's getting a bit bored of techno and stuff, but everything's going back to this kind of 90s throwback sound of early rave. But this is now being incorporated into commercial music, and that for me is really exciting because, I remember listening to dance music in the 90s when I was a kid, even commercial dance music. You only got to look at stuff like S Express and SL2, On a Ragga Tip and all this kind of stuff. Like, it was pop music, but it was damn cool music, it's almost timeless.